I'm about to talk about is not the truth. It's not written in stone. And this is just how I see the future of dentistry unfolding. I've been in the game since 1966, before some of you were even born. That's when I started dental school. And then I did practice, and then I did research, and then I did academics, and then I competed with his buddy, Harley, and practiced in Bellevue for a while, and did all that stuff. So I've been around enough to look at trends and patterns. I've also worked in the corporate sector of dentistry, and I see where the competition is coming from, and I think that you don't see it because you're not looking for it. T.S. Eliot, a wonderful poet, said, "Not seen because not looked for." So you don't see what's going on. It's just right here. Water to the fish, air to the bird, your four walls of your practice. That's what you got. And then you go to study clubs and talk about it. That's about the extent of it. So I'm not designing this program to convince you of anything. I'm asking you to look for yourself, and I don't even want you to believe me. I want you to think for yourself. I want you to try this stuff on as I talk about it, and I want you to see, what will I do if what he is saying is accurate? What are my choices in the future in terms of my practice? What am I going to do? In the way I work with people, and the way I always have worked with people, is I hold you that you're responsible. That you need to make your choices, and you need to make your choices in such a way that you hold them as being responsible. This is not being done to you. That's blame. Don't point your finger over there at Delta and say there's a fault over there. Blame and fault are the antithesis of responsibility. Are you willing to be responsible for the economic condition you have to succeed in? That's the question. And if you're willing to be responsible, that's the place to start this conversation. It's your future, it's your choice, it's up to you. And every choice has a consequence. So you have to look at what choices you're going to make, maybe out of this event, maybe in the next 3 weeks, maybe in the next couple months, but you have to start to take a look at other elements that are going on in the industry to see if these things that you are noticing, you are willing to take a risk to change in order to achieve a different future. Now, you guys are pretty risk adverse, yes? Wouldn't you say? Yeah, I'd say so. You don't bet the ranch. Well, the ranch is coming towards you, and you're going to have to make some bets. So here's your advice so far. So I listened to the Washington State Dental Association had a webinar. Did you all listen to that thing? Did you go to that? Right, they had 4 pundits, and they're from various consulting companies, and they all said the same thing, right? They said, number one, decrease expenses, which you immediately went and did. You know, the Japanese have a thing called, to get taller, you cut off the heads of others. There was a lot of head cutting in Bellevue. Oh, don't need that sterilization assistant, sorry. Hygiene, well, we're down to 3 days a week. You did what you had to do to cut expenses, yes? The next thing they said is increase efficiencies. And so you all started working on that. Book better, schedule better, open better, and the last one was better customer service. Yes, so I listened to it too, and I've engaged in that, and that's what you all, or most people have done in terms of facing the imminent danger that you saw from Washington Dental Services change. And then, what are you going to do? Now what? Now that you've increased efficiencies, decreased expenses, and now you're the Ritz, you take care of people, you're like the Zappos of dentistry. Customer service, you're wonderful, 3 rings, they answer the phone, you got them scripts, you got, now you got all these things. Now what are you going to do? What's next? What's next as the economy changes its composure, and you have to deal with not only the change in reimbursement, but you have to change with new competitive elements. What are you going to do? Stay in, opt out? I think those are short-term answers. Right now, as I said, it's mostly wait and see. But it's just a short-term solution. Where are you going to be in 3 to 5 years from now? What's going to be going on in your practice then? If you protect the past, then the future turns out like the past. And I don't think the past is going to match this new future. You fly airplanes, I would assume, yes? From time to time, not as many as me. But I know, I hope not. If you do, let me know if I'm on the airplane, okay? When was the last time you were in an airport? A month ago, 2 months ago?
Yep.
When was the last time you saw a payphone? Does anybody even know what a payphone looks like anymore? Something changed, and then everything changed. The cell phone is now here. You got a payphone. What are you going to do? When it comes to the future, there are 3 kinds of people. Those who let it happen, those who make it happen, and those who wondered what happened. Where are you in that? You know, I'm speaking to people all over the country about this. This is not just a local phenomenon. It isn't just Delta hit the skids here. It's happening everywhere. I have clients throughout this country. I have clients in other countries, actually. And it's happening there. The economic model is changing. How many of you know physicians who practice solo? 1. You don't think we're going to follow the medical model? When their economics changed, what did they do? What did they do?
They grouped together.
They grouped together.
They conjugate around hospitals.
Right. The economics changes, you make changes. We actually have to start thinking in group, and we're going to talk about that a lot today. Because you don't think group. You think me, or I, or you have a little you and me, we, you have 3 guys. But that's not quite a group. It's kind of like a band of bandits. So, you know, it's okay. So it's, you know, it's 3 guys. You know, 3 guys, so that's a maximum practice size that's in Bellevue, right? Is there any practices with 20 people? 30 people? No. There will be. %47 of the graduates in dentistry are women. It's going to change the entire face of how the dental practices are done. Most of the associates in my larger ortho practices are women, and they're fine. They're fine owning stock and not being a full owner. They're fine with that. Most of the younger practitioners come, well, it was interesting. I talked to the American Academy of Perio not long ago, and there's 3 classifications of periodontists now: solo practice, group practice, and itinerant periodontist. Your competition is not just in an office anymore, your competition is moving around. Things are changing. The purpose of this interaction tonight is to challenge you to think differently about your practice and about your future. And I'm not here to get your vote. I'm not in politics. They can't even figure out anything anyway, as you can well tell. I mean, they couldn't even vote on that bill that they were supposed to pass today. They had to belay that bill. And that's a whole other model that could go collapse if this thing doesn't get handled, right? I'm not here for your agreement. My real purpose here is to have you think differently about your future. If you walk out of here in a conversation that has been impacted by our interaction, and you begin to engage by thinking differently about how you'll approach the future, then I got my job done. So the results I want to produce is that I have to get this point across that context is decisive. Now, you don't think that. You don't wake up in the morning going, hey, what's my context today? That's not how you wake up in the morning. You don't walk into your practice thinking, well, what's the context of my practice? That's context as a language, verb, and noun in your world doesn't come up during the day. Maybe once or twice. But you don't think context is decisive. My assertion is that it is. That context is decisive. That if you change the context, everything within it changes. And if you do what's old in a new context, that which is old will fail. Context is decisive. The nature of change is caused by a shift in context, and there has been a fundamental shift in the context of the industry, of global industry, of the world, of the way we do business, and it certainly has occurred in dentistry as exemplified by Delta, but many other things that have gone on over the last 5 years demonstrate to me that there's been a change in context. And I want to be able for you to distinguish these changes that are occurring within dentistry so that you can begin to rethink how you're going to approach your future. And lastly, and how I'll end this evening, is to talk about some options that you might consider as you go into this future. So these are the intended results I want to produce. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. That which got you here ain't going to get you there. Pretty straightforward. Times require a shift in thinking. I'm sure some of you have seen this puzzle before, but if not, just think in your mind there are 9 dots on the screen. Your job is to connect all 9 dots with 4 straight lines without picking your pencil off the paper. Ready? Go. How you doing? Not so good, huh? The only way to solve this problem is you have to consider thinking outside of the box. And so when there's been a contextual change, to approach that change thinking inside the box will not give you access to success in this new context. One needs to think outside of the box, and you guys are in a pretty small box.